And now for something completely different. Well, not completely different. We're looking at some custom knives today. I did the unboxing of these knives month and a half ago, something like that. These are David Merry custom knives. David Merry has his custom shop for making knives in Ontario, Canada, and he makes knives for all kinds of people all over the place, not just in Canada. If you're looking for, some custom knives, and not just little stuff like this, he makes, big machetes and everything down to these little guys. Any kind of knife fixed blade that you want, pretty much. I guess not everything. You'll have to contact him yourself and find out. I'll leave his details all down below. Where did I put his card? Here's his card right here. I'll have his phone number on the screen as well, and his Instagram. You can contact him through Instagram as well. See all his pictures. And he's on the BladeForums if you want to look at BladeForums and check out, a lot of his knives that he's done over, in the past number of years. I forget how many years he said he's been doing this. A good number. Anyways, let's take a look at these knives. Keep watching. A while back, I did a video of some knives that David Merry Custom did in collaboration with Good Knife Co. So they're made for Good Knife Co., sold by Good Knife Co., but David Merry Custom did the making of the knives for them. If you want to see that video, I've shown a picture of it on the screen. You can see a link of it right here, or I'll link it down below, and I'll link it down below as well. You can check out those knives if you want to. I don't have any idea. I don't think Good Knife Co. has any left. I think they're all sold out. I might be wrong. They might still be working on them. Check these out. These are just little guys. One of these is just a one-off knife that it's a paring knife basically that was done for David made it for a friend of his. So I got to send this back because that friend is going to get this. This is one of his knife designs that are around. I'll show you that in a minute. And this is another knife design that he has around. I'll give you the names of those in a little while. But just check out the sheaths first. They are custom fit, made to click and have good retention. You can hear it. And this guy, a little push off there. Good retention. Bigger push off there. This is Kydex with a carbon fiber look to it. This is Kydex with a leather look to it. And, nicely done. Very nicely done. So I'm not going to look at the sheaths anymore. Some of these have paracord. This is empty paracord, so it's just the shell, and quite good as a neck knife. This is, we'll look at those in a minute. First, this one-off custom, and I liked it so much. Actually, my wife really liked this knife so much. We've ordered one of them ourselves, and he's going to make one for us out of MagnaCut. This is AEB-L steel, which is a good stainless steel. And there's other steels as well. There's a number of steels as well that you can choose from. Just contact David Custom and ask him, what kind of knife you want. Tell him what kind of steel you want. And especially if you get online on the BladeForums, you can see loads and loads of pictures of different types of knives that he's had, or look through his Instagram feed. And I'm sure you can get on one of those two at least and take a look at what he's got. AEB-L is a good stainless steel. I quite like it. All of the stainless steel knives that David Merry Custom makes, they are heat treated by Jared Todd. You may have heard of Jared Todd, especially if you're in the custom knife world. He's in the United States, and he does all the stainless steel heat treat for David Merry Custom. And if it's carbon steel, he gets a guy named Andy Pomorski to do the heat treatment of his carbon steels. Those are heat treated in Ontario, Canada as well. So David Merry Custom, David Merry knows what he's best at, and other people are better at heat treats, so he gets the best heat treat that he can get for these knives, and that's a good thing. Now this knife, like I said, my wife really, really likes this. It's just a paring knife. Well, I shouldn't say just. A paring knife is a very useful tool in the kitchen around the house very often. It's just like a penknife style blade, but of course it's not a folding knife. This is crushed carbon fiber, like solid carbon fiber. It looks really nice. Very well done. 3 pins. Those are, I'm not sure if those are brass or bronze. Probably brass pins. Very comfortable on hand. Very thin edges on his knives. If you'll notice, that's one of the things that is different than a lot of knives. You don't have a lot of thickness. You can ask them to make it thicker behind the edge if you want to. But mostly we got full flat grinds, a rounded spine here, so there's no crisp edges here, unless you want crisp edges. Like I said, these are custom knives. And nice point to this, you know, it's not a stabbing kind of knife. You don't have a guard at all. But even here, you've got a little bit of a spot if you want to sneak up your finger and, you know, cut a little bit, you know, closer to your finger. I found these are very, very thin at the edges, and the thinnest spots consistently on the, well, one of them's got serrated, but the 2 fine edge knives, it's thinnest right here. That's where you do a lot of your cutting, but there's loads of support. It's a little bit thicker at the tip, which makes the blade stronger, less likely to, you know, bend or break at the tip, but it's still quite thin at that tip. Very slicey. Satin finish, full flat grind. Let's go over the specs really quickly on this. I'm not going to put the stuff on the screen. You're just going to have to listen. Might take time to take notes yourself on what is what. I had to go find my spec sheet. Here we go. The weight of the knife, 55 grams. That's 1.94 ounces. You add the sheath in, that's 24 grams, 0.85 ounces together, 79 grams, 2.79 ounces. So pretty light. Not that it makes a big difference. You know, this is a kitchen paring knife. Basically, you could use it other ways if you want to, of course. The sharpness from the factory. Now, what factory? The sharpness from David Mary Custom. I don't have the number for you. I forgot to check the sharpness before I started using it. After I've been using it for a while, I checked the sharpness and it's still less than 150 best. You know, 140, 150 best is right around average for the knives that I test when they're brand spanking new. So this thing was better than the average that I check every once in a while on the knives that I do, I should say. So very sharp factory all the way along, and I even have to be careful doing this. Most knives, you know, no problem putting your thumb on there. My thumb's fairly thick-skinned, calluses and stuff. Certainly don't want to slide it on that edge, but you can feel how sharp that is just by touching it with your thumb a little bit. The other numbers, cutting edge, 87 millimeters roughly. That's almost 3.5 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, 90 millimeters, just over 3.5 inches. The thickness of this blade steel over here at the thickest spot where it is like at the spine, 1.53 millimeters, which is 60 thousandths of an inch. The blade depth this way, it's widest right about there, and that is 16 millimeters, 0.63 of an inch. How thick is it? Right behind the edge grind, 0.2 millimeters. 8 thousandths of an inch at the thinnest spot, and over here it's about 10 thousandths of an inch, near closer to the tip. No wonder it's so very, very slicey indeed. Grind angles, I don't know. Those grind angles are so narrow. My normal testing just didn't come up with a number because it's so narrow. I can show you a video, the link is up here, on how I measure grind angles. So I don't know exactly what the grind angles is on this, right? The edge. The handle length, that is 95 millimeters, just a hair under 3 3/4 inches. How thick is the handle? The thickest spot is near the back here, 16 millimeters, 0.63 of an inch. The handle depth, the widest point's right here, 21 millimeters, 0.83 of an inch. The grip area, it's around 8 centimeters, about 3 1/4 inches. And the total length of the knife, tip to tail, 185 millimeters, just over 7 1/4 inches. That's the measurements. What do I think of this? I really like this nice soft spine. You know, it's a thin steel. It slices very, very well. Comfortable handle. It's just a great knife. I like the job that he did on the sheath. Fits really well. Holds well, has a nice little push off to getting, you know, it off, and you could carry it if you want to using these hollow rivets. to tie off to if you want to carry it some way. Add some kind of sheath system, because this kind of knife is extremely handy. Beautiful. It's a beautiful knife. How much does it cost to get one of these? Well, this is not one of his standard knives. It's just sort of a one-off. He told me that this would be, because of the carbon fiber, because this shredded carbon fiber is not cheap, this thing would be over $100 US. Not a lot over, but over $100 US for this, especially with the stainless steel, since he's got to ship these to the United States to get heat treated, and then they have to get shipped back. That adds to some cost, but there's no cheap materials in here. This is all good quality materials. He doesn't cheap out anywhere, and so I quite like it. I love the finish on this satin finish. You know, you can still see some, you know, lines in there, but I like that. That's nice. Just like most satin finishes have lines in them, this is beautifully done. Beautifully done. You can tell how light, how reflective that light is. You know, it's got a very nice smooth finish, and I really like this extra little touch here, you know, just to get forward on it. I tend to like sharpness choils, especially on budget knives. Now, a fixed blade knife like this, it's not as big a deal. Well, it's not a big deal at all, actually, but I'm sure he could put one in if you asked him to. But this is just an example of what he can do custom. If you want something specific, I'm sure he can make it. Just contact him and find out. This is part of his Ultralight Necker series. This is the Sheepfoot version. Look at that. A lot of similarities in terms of how he grinds them. Very thin along the edge. This time this is in 15N20. 15N20 is usually hardened around 5960 in the Rockwell scale. Of course, there's his logo up there. This time he's used hollow rivets to put it together. Tied a little lanyard on there. Nicely done. And this wood here, this is, where did I write it down? Anyhow, this is a custom handle material that's no longer available. It's many thin layers of wood, and you know, it's sort of a grayish black on top, and then a green layer, and then a gray layer, and then a black layer, and then a green layer. Yeah, I'll show you a close-up picture of that. Very nice. The texture adds to the grippiness to it. It is a treated wood, so it has some kind of treatment on it, but no other seal or anything. If you want to do that, you do that on your own. But it's, you know, decent. I'm really happy with this. And the finish everywhere is well done. There's no sharp edges except for the very sharp edge that you want sharp. It's a nice knife. I'll give you the specs on this guy quickly as well. 25 grams, 0.88 ounces in weight. This is 20 grams with the lanyard as well. That's 0.7 ounces together. 45 grams, 1.59 ounces together. You're looking for something light to carry, especially around your neck? This is very light, and there are other blade styles. Like I said, this is the Sheepfoot version, and he's got other versions as well. Same satin finish, it's just beautiful. Same kind of sharpness, less than 150 bests, and still very sharp. I mostly use the paring knife. This is a different steel, but very durable, good carbon steel. Just remember that it's carbon steel, and treat it with the kind of respect that carbon steel needs. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. The dimensions, cutting edge length, 63 millimeters, just under 2.5 inches. Length from the tip to the handle, 65 millimeters, just over 2.5 inches. The thickness of the blade steel, this is nice and thin, 0.45 millimeters, 57 thousandths of an inch, that's it. The blade depth, it's widest right here at the heel of the blade, 16 millimeters, 0.63 of an inch. Thickness behind the grind, again, 0.2 millimeters, 8 thousandths of an inch right at the edge. Very, very slicey indeed. And again, I didn't measure the grind angles because it's just such a thin edge I couldn't see when it was a clean swipe on there. Again, watch that video on how I measure if you're curious about that. The handle length, that is 81 millimeters, 3.19 inches. And the thickness of the handle, it's about 9¼ millimeters, which is 0.36 of an inch. The handle depth is widest up here, 18 millimeters, 0.7 of an inch. The grip area, it's about 8 centimeters, right around 3 inches. And the total length is 145 millimeters, 5¾ just under 5¾ inches. So it's a nice, small, light, usable knife, very handy indeed. If you know my channel at all, you know that I like small knives, and this is just a really nice little fixed blade. Now this one is for sale. You have to contact me, within 2 days of this video going out, or I'll send it back to David Mary and he can sell it. If you want this knife, $100 gets it. $100 and you can have this knife. And that includes shipping to Canada or United States. If it's shipping further than that, well, we'll just have to figure it out. Remember, 2 days from the day this video goes live. After that, I've shipped it back to David Mary already. A couple things I forgot to talk about. I just realized. Notice how the handle is expanding up here and going up. A bit of a thumb ramp kind of thing. I found that very handy. It looks kind of odd, but that's very handy indeed when you're going to cut, having to have your thumb up there. He does do knives that have file work, in the handle, those cool looking, the file work. This knife is a little more plain, doesn't have any of that. Rounded spine, very well done. I'm happy with this knife. Now I'm done with this one. This is from his Bitty Bitey Baby series. Bitty Bitey Baby. It started as just scrap steel that he didn't want to waste. He wanted to make something from the scrap steel that he had. You can get something like this. This is, commonly called these days a leaf kind of shape in some ways. This guy's serrated. Any of his blades can be serrated. So this guy's serrated. And you've got that great grip right here. So when you put your hand in there, it goes between your fingers, and you've got a very secure grip for cutting different kinds of materials. Of course, either hand, very comfortable indeed. This is flat on the back, and it's beveled just on one side, and then you've got your serrated bevels on this side as well. Very nice tip for, doing tip work if you need to. And if you like serrations, you can get nice serrations. There's a little bit of kydex coming off. I don't know if I put the knife in and out improperly. Just, if you're not into fixed blade knives, remember, put pressure, a little pressure on the spine when you put the knife in, and then you're not going to get it cutting inside on the sheath. Same kind of thing when you're pulling it out, just up a tiny bit. Not much pressure at all, just up a little bit, and then it's not going to chew up the inside of your sheath. Handle scales, I think that's G10. I didn't ask him specifically what that is. It's G10 for that black line in there, and then this is Purple Heart. Purple Heart, if you don't seal it, and I think this is probably not sealed, slowly turns darker, and just gets darker all the time over time. That's just what Purple Heart does. It's a nice bright purple color, like a super lavender kind of purple color. Well, different trees have different color wood, even in the Purple Heart family, but it starts out brighter purple from the start, and it slowly gets dark. A nice little touch that he did here as well is these little notches here. He sanded in using his grinding belt or whatever. These little, they look like divots. That's just great for your thumb to go in if you're going to hold it like this. A little bit on the side kind of hold. Gives you added grip. Or, of course, you can hold it like this and put your thumb on that big, thumb riser. And it's very well done. I'm very happy with it. This one, again, is 15N20, like the Necker was. And, again, you can get it in a plain blade. Now, this guy's a little thicker at the edge. Let me give you all the measurements here. 26 grams. That's 0.92 ounces. Sheath, 19 grams. That's a 0.67 ounces. Together, 45 grams, 1.59 ounces. A very light little neck knife. Yet, especially with this here, Very, very handy indeed. The cutting edge length on this, sharpness. Sharpness on this, the sharpness on this guy was also less than 150 best. Very sharp from David Mary Custom. Cutting edge length around 60 millimeters, a little over 2.25 inches, about 2.36, about a little over 2 1/3 inches actually. The blade length tip to the closest spot on the handle is 63, just under 2.5 inches, 63 millimeters, 2.5 inches. The blade thickness, and right here you can got the nice ricasso there. You can measure it easily how thick it is. 1.47 millimeters, which is 58,000ths of an inch. The blade depth, of course, it's widest right here. That's 22 millimeters, 0.86 of an inch. Thickness behind the grind, well, at the back of those serrated scallops, those serrations, that's where it's thickest, at the back of the edge. That's 0.28 millimeters, 11,000ths. So even thinner at the tips of each of these serrations, but at the back of them, it's still half as thick there as many knives that I review. No wonder it is an awesome little cutting knife. The grind angles, again, I didn't measure these. I don't have a rounded, measuring stone that I can get in there and measure it. So I'm not sure what the grind angle is exactly, but it looks like it's about 15 to 18 degrees. Again, just on one side. The other side doesn't have the grind angles on it. The handle length, 63 millimeters, just under 2.5 inches. The handle thickness, 11 millimeters, 0.3 inches. The handle depth, the widest point's right here within the grip, 25 millimeters, 0.98 of an inch. The grip area, between my thumbnails there, that's about 63 millimeters, about almost 2.5 inches, just a tiny bit shy. The total length of this thing is 125 millimeters, just under 5 inches, 4.92 of an inch. Really, really nice. The thing that really makes this special is this finger separator. Without it, the knife would not be as useful as it is. You get such a very secure grip. Everything's nicely sanded, rounded. You got rivet holes. You could tie a little lanyard on there if you wanted to. Those are brass or bronze. Very nicely done. Very light, small, but very useful. And I'm happy with this knife. And again, all these knives are made by hand. Each one's custom. If you order another one of these, it will not have the exact measurements that I measured on this one. It will be very close, but it won't be exact because each one is handmade, custom made in David Mary's shop in Ontario, Canada. So, yeah, look at that. So, the Bitey Baby, the Ultralight Necker, Sheepfoot edition, and a paring knife. So I want to thank my supporters for supporting the channel. If you don't know about that, you can support the channel for as little as $2 US per month or $3 Canadian per month. And you get into a knife draw every single month. I do a knife giveaway, and it's one of the knives that I've reviewed previously, and you get to pick which knife. I give you a long list or a list of knives to choose from, and something I've reviewed. I sharpen it up with a crisp new custom edge that I do here, because I do custom knife sharpening here. I don't make knives, but I can do custom knife sharpening for you, and I do that for the knife, and I give you an extra prize. If you want to get involved, you're going to have to sign up patreon.com/CCE, or you can click join down below. It's in black. It's a button below the video. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum.